This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's Family.
All right, so normally this time of year we expect our next guest to maybe be on a beach hanging out with like Mike Bellotti and Sylvester Croom talking about days gone by and the successes of college football. But Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports joining us here on CBS 5 Arizona, Arizona's Family. Do you get a vacation this summer at all?
Oh, yeah, going on a cruise really soon. Europe, whatever. Yeah, and if I was on a beach, I definitely wouldn't be with Sylvester Croom. That's for darn sure.
Well, I figured all you guys get together. Maybe Harbaugh comes down there and talk about the future of college football. Right now, as you look at the future of college football, do you have any answers for what this thing is going to look like in a couple years?
No. I mean, you start with NIL, where you got to get that squared away. And Charlie Baker, the new NCAA president, is trying to get a federal bill done in Washington. You've got to get that squared away. You've got to get someone to take on the legal liability of major college football. And right now that's the NCAA to the tune of about $65 million per year. That's what it takes them to run a sport. They don't sponsor a championship in FBS football. So that's a liability. And then everything else with the conference realignment and the transfer portal and everything else, I'm not here to offer any predictions in 2 years from now.
No, and we are all keeping our eye here on the Pac-12. We had, I guess it's a Pac-10. I don't know. It's still a Pac-12, but there's 10 schools. It's confusing. How many does the Big 12 have, by the way? But
14.
Right.
14 this year, yeah.
Okay, I studied journalism, so there'd be no math. But as we look at that, I mean, there's all kinds of smoke about Colorado leaving. The Athletic just had a report that they just agreed to equal sharing of revenue. So when the Pac-12 Media Day is held on July 21st, do you expect there to be fireworks?
Well, if you mean, I don't know what you mean by fireworks. Hopefully this thing's done by then. No, I think they'll have some sort of resolution, whether it's going forward with 10 or not, or having expansion or not. Boy, if it's not done by July 21st, it's just more of the same. This has been the longest slog I've ever been on the realignment beat. So no, the fireworks will come before July 21st, I think.
So does that mean, I know it's hard to offer a prediction, but Colorado with the smoke there, do they stay as part of this, or is Primetime taking his talents to the Big 12? How would you handicap this at this point?
Well, it's really up to Colorado, and I don't have any insight as to what they are going to decide. They are doing their due diligence. That's true. They're being pursued by the Big 12. That's true. I think if I had to put a soft deadline on it, I'd put it on by the end of the month, because something has to shake loose, because that's when San Diego State, I think their buyout in the Mountain West goes from 19 million to maybe 38 million. And they've said publicly they can't afford it. So if it lingers past then, San Diego State's out in the Pac-12. I can say that with some certainty, unless they get some relief on that. And so by then, I think that forces the Pac-12 to, fish or cut bait, to present a number. And they don't have a number as we speak here today, right now, to their members.
Could you see a scenario where Arizona and Arizona State split up?
Oh, sure. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State did. Who else was linked at the hip by Cal and UCLA, a same board of trustees. They split up. Washington and Washington State. No one's even talked about that, with Washington going to the Big Ten. Is the state legislature going to have a say in that? Apparently not. So yeah, I definitely could see that. The two most likely schools to go right now to the Big 12 are from the Pac-12 are Arizona and Colorado.
It's crazy. I mean, I find myself looking at MMR rights more, the multimedia rights, more than actual recruiting now. Would you say, how would you characterize this current state of college football reporting?
College football reporting, it's since the summer of 21, this is all we've done. That bombshell with Texas and Oklahoma had us scrambling literally like rats on a ship when in the lobby or on a ballroom floor of the old Winfrey Hotel in Hoover, Alabama. When that hit, that was at SEC Media Days. Same last year, basically on June 30th, 2022 when John Wilner broke the USC UCLA stuff. So we've been chasing that in some form or fashion since then. So I'm proud of if the question is about the reporting, I'm proud of the reporting journalists have done on this. It keeps everybody foot to the fire.
No, for sure. And you look at like the ACC revenue story as well. That there's percentage. There are now incentives for performance. How much do you think specifically that those incentives will change the game here with conference realignment?
I think nothing. I have the personal opinion that they're locked in a box that they can't get out of. They have 13 years left on a 20-year deal with a grant of rights that has been described as ironclad by several sources, mostly because that grant of rights was gifted to them from the Big 12 about 10 years ago when the two conferences were talking about doing non-conference games together. And this is going way down a rabbit hole, but the Big 12 was incorporated in Delaware, where 65% of the Fortune 500 companies are incorporated because it gives them legal protection against being sued and suing people. In other words, this made it harder for Texas to basically leave the Big 12. Now they did, but it was at the end of their deal. They didn't challenge the grant of rights. And so now project that into the ACC, which has 13 years to go. I wrote a story a couple of weeks ago saying, I think conservative estimates are, if they wanted to fight this in court, because the grant of rights have never been contested in a court. Like a judge never decided if you can get out of it. It would take a negotiation of somewhere from $350 to $500 million for the ACC right now. So I don't think they have any leverage. Those schools, they're getting more credit for, what do they call it, successionist initiatives, if they get to the playoff or win the league. That's fine, but the money's still finite. That money has to come from somewhere. So that means Wake Forest, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, if they don't get there, are going to be making less money.
Interesting. So how much is Notre Dame a domino in this whole thing when it comes to the ACC, when it comes to if they're going to join the SEC, the Big Ten, or you know what? We haven't put them on the Pac-12 list yet. Bring Notre Dame out here to join the Pac-12.
I don't think they're a player right now. I've told people there's only two teams that are really available right now, and they are Oregon and Washington. I just told you what the ACC situation is. There's going to be no movement there for the foreseeable future without a massive court fight. Notre Dame has shown no indications. They're happy with their access in the new playoff. In fact, they helped forge that access. Jack Swarbrick, their AD, was part of the four-man team that thought up and proposed and had adopted the 12-team playoff. There are no levers in place that would force them to join a conference. In other words, if they didn't have access, they have access. So they're going to be fine. They have a new contract coming up with NBC, I think in 2025, whether NBC gets those rights or lets them go. I wrote last summer that they were seeking $75 million a year, which would put them in the Big Ten range, right, of their new deal. But they are still one of the most lucrative, one of the most valuable commodities in college sports. And despite what's being written, I just don't see any pressures there to make them go to a league right now.
Well, certainly they are a national brand. I mean, you mentioned Oregon and Washington too, and I mean, the concern out here we had about the Pac-12, I think, is real. Everybody's watching that, thinking it might come unraveled. We had Ray Anderson on these very airwaves in the Speak of the Devils podcast earlier this summer with Brad Denny talking about he has a lot of confidence that the 10 schools there will stick together. But what are the dominoes that you're watching there in the Pac-12 to see if this thing will hold together?
I think the Big 12 wants 14. I think the play right now is, as I've written, is Colorado and UConn. That could change. And then the question just becomes, does that unravel the sweater for the Pac-12? Those presidents need to see a number. They haven't seen a number. I just texted a Pac-12 president. There was a report today that they had agreed to a grant of rights. He said, I quote, "I am not aware of any such development." So that hasn't happened yet, at least to my knowledge. And usually in these type of things, the deal comes first. Okay, we read the deal, we all agree to the deal, and signing the grant of rights, which, by the way, for the listeners and the viewers, that means significantly that the conference owns your TV rights. You can't go anywhere. They own your TV. So that comes last. That's a formality after everybody's agreed to the money. I don't want to say they're not close because I think they could be close, but they haven't signed the grant of rights yet.
Is there, when you got into sports reporting, did you think there would be this much legalese?
Ooh, I was interested in figuring out batting averages by division. I wasn't. And that was before calculators, by the way. No, I didn't at all. This is I would tell if I was speaking to a class, college or high school today, I would say get a journalism degree, take some business courses. In the summer, you might want to go. Harvard does this now because my son did it. They offer classes for credit from Harvard Business School. Do that. It costs $3,000. You've got Harvard on your resume, and try to get a working knowledge of television. All that. I mean, to cover really any sport right now.
No, absolutely. It's not. You know what? I think that we should hire you down here in Arizona, get you into the Cronkite School, and have you.
Right.
Because you live down here, right? Are you in Arizona right now?
No, we have a place down there, but yeah, I have spoken to Paula Boydman's class, who you are very aware of, and would love to interact. That'd be great.
All right, you can do all of your work out of here, the CBS affiliate. Real quick on the field, what are some of the games you have circled on your calendar once we kick off the college football season?
Oh gosh, that's probably one of the last things on my list right now. I got to pay more attention to actual football. TCU and Colorado in that first game. I think it's been moved to a big noon telecast by Fox. A team that was 1-11 last year, a program that I said was the worst in Power 5. But the Deion effect is such that it's all hype, and it's going to be appointment television. I think that's going to be great. I think, not tooting our own horn, but I think CBS now having 15 games this year combined with the end of the SEC contract and the beginning of the Big Ten contract is going to be fascinating. There are going to be some great Saturday afternoons and nights on CBS. And I think whatever LSU does, LSU is going to be favored to win the West and the SEC. Alabama is not. They've got a great team. And look, all the great ones, Oklahoma, Texas, the last one in the Big 12, Ohio State, Michigan is probably going to be for a playoff spot. I've got two teams from the Big 10 being in the top 4. I've got Penn State in there as well. So, yeah, I need to brush up on my September football and tell you what I'm looking forward to.
Right. And, I look at Arizona and Arizona State here, and I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
what does success look like this year? Obviously a victory over each other. But I think, as they kind of build things, Jed Fish, I feel like third year might turn the corner. They've had an issue down there with their quarterback and some reporting that came out of Hawaii that it's just kind of a nasty juvenile case that has made major headlines. But you look at Arizona State and you look at Kenny Dillingham and you think, okay, what's success look like for him? I think a win over the LA schools and people will be pretty happy here.
And a bowl game. I love the energy. I've been inside, talked to him, been inside the program, went to the spring game. They've got themselves a quarterback, at least for the future, in Rashada, if not this year. And look, here's a guy that, if everything falls right, he's going to retire there. He's 33 years old, son of the Valley. Where'd he go? Chandler, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Chaparral. And listen to this. He's got a connection with John Madden, and he coached Kenny Stabler's kids. That was his first coaching job.
So talk about an all-in guy. I don't think you could ask for anything better for Arizona State.
All right. And Dylan Raiola going to Georgia. He bounced back nice. He actually has transferred high schools. Now he's at Pinnacle High School here. Went to Chandler. But, decommitted from Ohio State. There was some talk maybe he got dropped there. He lands on his feet at Georgia. What sort of money could you expect from the number one quarterback in the nation once NIL stuff gets figured out here in your opinion?
Oh gosh, I don't. I mean, I know the family. I've talked to his father. I will tell you this: NIL is not a priority. That's not one of those that did not sway him in this decision. It was basically a crowded quarterback room at Ohio State where Ryan Day couldn't commit maybe to Dylan. But I mean, Is he going to get something? Yeah, but I'm not that guy. I mean, I can't project how much the number one high school player for 2024 is going to make once he gets to college.
I know, it's a crazy world now, and I've been over there and talked to him as well. Neat kid and a cannon for an arm. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had so many good quarterbacks come out of here recently. You saw Brock Purdy with the San Francisco 49ers, and it just keeps growing. So we're going to need to get you down here to Arizona to watch some high school football and maybe do a little scouting report.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you for your time. Go Padres, I guess. They're not close to the Diamondbacks right now, but I have a feeling this summer you guys might make a run.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a D-backs fan this summer, I think. Get a
Good.
new shirt.
Hop aboard. They're really fun. So, hey, thanks for making time for us here in Phoenix, and look forward to seeing you back out here soon.
You bet.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.